My name is John Ross with Finance on a Budget. In this video, I will talk to you about what stock market options are. This can get to be a very large and complicated topic, so I'm going to break it down into two videos. This video will explain the basic concept of stock option calls, and I'll have a second video that explains more details about stock option puts. In my research, everyone just tried to explain too much at once, so it became terribly confusing. By the end of this video, you will have a working knowledge of stock options. I put a lot of time into this video, so please be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and ring that bell notification. The following is going to be my understanding of stock option calls as explained to me by a financial expert. What are stock call options? First, forget the word stock. The actual stock is almost completely irrelevant. Most people don't actually own any of the stocks that they're betting on. They are simply betting on whether or not a stock price is going to rise above a certain value, calls, or if it's going to drop below a certain value, puts. Please keep in mind, these are two completely different bets, and each of them has two participants. For this video, Sally will be our seller and Bob will be our buyer. I'll get to the buyers and sellers in a minute. I need to cover a few terms first and set the betting rules. In this example, both Sally and Bob are going to be betting on the value of XYZ stock over the next 30 days. The bet is going to be winner takes all. Either Sally wins or Bob wins. There is no middle ground. The stock price is a specific value that both parties agree to. For this example, let's pretend that XYZ stock has an average price of $100. So the buyer and seller agree on a price that is either above or below the current market value of the underlying stock. As we are talking specifically about calls in this video, then we will be betting on the price going up. The only question is, by how much? With options, you will actually be betting on 100 stock shares at a time. It is always 100 shares. In this example, a single XYZ stock is valued at $100. Since it needs to include 100 shares, Sally and Bob are actually betting on 100 shares at $100 each, making the actual bet $10,000. All options have ending dates where something needs to happen by. This is called the expiration date. The key takeaway from the expiration date is that the date that the option will expire could be 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, possibly even longer. There is no set rule other than the third Friday of a month. The seller may or may not actually own any stock. More on that later. But let's just say that our seller, Sally, does in fact own 100 shares of XYZ stock valued at $10,000. She says that she will offer her stock at a preset price, if she can find somebody who's willing to pay her a premium to get in on that bet. The buyer is the person who likes the terms of the wager and is willing to pay the preset price, called a premium, in order to get in on the deal. In this example, let's say that Sally wants $10 per share, and Bob is willing to pay that $10 per share for 100 shares, which would be a buy-in of $1,000. Now that I've explained the concept once, let's do a quick recap. Our seller, Sally, wants to sell one option, which is 100 shares of stock. In this example, each stock is worth $100, making the total value of the stock option $10,000. The option will be valid for 30 days, although it could technically be longer, and it will expire on the third Friday of a month. Sally has a specific value in mind that she's willing to sell her stock for, but only if someone is willing to give her money up front, the premium, for the opportunity to buy the stocks she is offering. Our buyer, Bob, is willing to give Sally the premium fee up front for that opportunity, but not the obligation to buy her stocks. Worst case, Bob will lose the premium. Best case, he gets to buy the stocks for a great price. But more on that later. If XYZ stock is $100 today, that is only a guide when betting on tomorrow. If Sally the seller sells a strike price of $105 and Bob buys into it for $1,000, then Sally gets to keep that $1,000 cash. For the next 30 days, they are both watching that stock price intently. If it goes up to 104.99, then Bob has no gain by buying it. So he loses his $1,000 and Sally keeps the $1,000. Since Bob needs to get his $1,000 back too, the stock actually needs to go up to $115 before it's actually worth buying just to break even. Then, for every $1 that the 100 stocks go up, then Bob can make $100. But even if Sally needs to hand over the 100 shares, anything under $115 is still a profit of some sort to the seller because of that premium. Buying and selling stock options when there are no stocks. In this example, Sally really does own the 100 shares of stock, and Bob wants to buy it. This is easy to understand. However, nobody actually said that the seller had to invest $10,000 up front to get started. Rather, the seller only needs to promise the delivery of 100 shares if they lose. The distinction here is that if Bob wins, Sally has to go out and buy 100 shares at the market value and give them to Bob. It's only once she loses the wager that it will cost her $9,000, the $10,000 for the stock minus the $1,000 premium. At this point, you may be thinking that if Sally wins, she gets $1,000, but if she loses, then she is out $9,000. You would be correct. You're also thinking that if Bob wins, he pays $1,000 for the right to buy $10,000 worth of stock and resell it on the open market at a quick profit. At worst, he is only out $1,000. Again, you would be correct. So, if you're still following me, Sally the seller is risking $10,000 for only $1,000 in return, and Bob the buyer is risking $1,000 to possibly make hundreds, if not thousands, in quick profit. Now you're starting to see how being a buyer of stock options has huge amounts of money-making potential with minimal risk. But you're probably also wondering why anyone would ever want to be the seller. In concept, you're absolutely correct. The buyer is prepared for limited losses and huge profits, while the seller makes pennies on the dollar with losses in the thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands. Technically, it's a 50-50 bet on whether or not the stock will go up or down, and that's why it's called gambling. However, you also have to consider experience. It's less of a fair fight to have Bob, the day trader, and his cell phone betting against a seasoned professional who has the specialized trading skills and does this all day, every day. Like life insurance company, the expectation is that there will be more customers coming in, paying the premiums, and never doing anything for the service. The long-term gains will offset any short-term losses. There's another aspect to options, and that's put options, betting on the value going down. But I will cover that in another video, link in the description below. If I helped you understand this topic better, please be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Thanks for watching.